The intro again. All right, so we are back. We had a little bit of a hiccup, so we start over again. Welcome to the Composers Roundtable episode 3, and we really hope that everybody's can be heard now. We're here with Reid, Matthias, I'm Sam, and this is Simeon. And today's docket that we're going to go through is music software marketing, creative block, getting stuck, routines, health, and why it matters. And then we might talk about some new deals and new instruments. But before we get into that, I just want to get a quick hello and see what they've done this last 2 weeks. So, Reid, what have you been up to?
I've been working on a world music video and for YouTube, and the title is How World Music Can Change Your Life. And this is a video I wanted to make basically for a year. And so I've been learning how to make YouTube videos so I could make this right. And so I am focusing on the yangchen, which is a Chinese instrument, kind of the Chinese dulcimer, which was given away as a virtual instrument. A lot of you may know by Native Instruments in December and January. So I chose that instrument because it's one that a lot of people have. And I was able to get in touch with a music teacher in Singapore, Mr. Patrick, who has these really, really lovely videos of his students up on YouTube, and he also trains. So I learned a lot from his videos, and he gave me permission. So when this video comes out, it's going to have a performance from a 15-year-old girl who's just wonderful.
All right. Thank you, Reid. That was really nice. I really want to look into that a little bit more. Matthias, what have you been doing this last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I've been focusing on a project that's kind of similar to mine. That actually started at the same time, was also about the Cinematic Studio series, creating a template for that. Also a Dutch guy, by the way, so that was pretty funny. We started at exactly the same time. And but he's actually finished his template, so I had a look around at that template, played with it, was able to chat with the guy who made it. His name is Rico Dirks. You can find him on VI Control, and his project is called Project Colossal. That was the other funny thing. We both had project something in the name. But actually, I learned a lot from it, and I want to incorporate some of the ideas he had in there in my own template as well, but in my own way, of course. I'm not going to put his presets in there. So that's one thing, and the other thing is I came across a really nice YouTube channel called Microtone Music. It's 2 German guys. They're both conductors. They can help with arranging music, orchestration, also getting players, and they have really nice YouTube video streams as well, live streams, where they explain some techniques about advanced orchestrations, things that go into recording with a real orchestra, what studio to pick, how that affects the musicians, which room you pick, all that kind of thing. And they were really responsive in the chat as well, so that was really nice.
Oh, that sounds nice. I would like to check that out too. Maybe we can put in the link later. Okay, excellent. So, Simeon, what have you been up to the last 2 weeks?
Well, I'm plugging away still at this violin instrumental project, making the arrangements and learning so much about solo violin libraries. And it is just, when you're working with a virtuoso violinist and you know, you can't fool the, you know, they know what's going on. And so it's been a real challenge. So I've actually gone through 3 libraries, and the last one was the Joshua Bell solo violin from Embertone, which I think has kind of risen to the top as far as just feeling alive when you play it. You know, just almost uncanny when you go from note to note, how it kind of anticipates what's going to happen next. So that's going to be interesting. And Reid had mentioned something about the Bohemian violin from Philharmonic, and hopefully, I'm hoping that I can get to try that as well, and then and maybe just share my experiences, compare them, and just see what happens. And another thing, I just finished a video for audio plugin deals. They're going to be releasing a harpsichord, an Italian harpsichord bundle from Real Samples, and harpsichords have gotten such a bad rap. I think we instantly think about the Addams Family and Lurch and that type of thing, but there is so much more to a harpsichord than you would ever think, and even the tunings. So I learned so much about the history of harpsichords, and so that's going to be an interesting thing. I had did a video for him for his Hallian version of one of his harpsichords, and these are over 500 years old. And it's just to sit down and play like these, ancient instruments, pretty much 500 years old. It's just an amazing experience. So lots of fun, lots of just lots of fun, and also being able to be with you guys again. It's such a privilege. So I'm looking forward to our discussion today. I know we're going to have a lot of fun.
All right. Really nice to have you all guys here. So again, I just wanted to mention, if you happen to listen to this podcast on a podcast service, please remember to rate us well, so we're being shared more and discovered by more people. So let's get going with today's docket, and this is something I think Reid suggested, and I really like the idea to talk a little bit more about music software marketing and how they get us to buy more stuff and the different sort of tactics that you use to get interested. So why don't you start with that, Reid? What was your reason for want to talk about this?
Well, I don't know if all of you know this, but I do, for the last 3 years, I'm going to keep doing it this year, but I do a Black Friday post on VI Control, and I talk about all the deals. So that kind of, because I do that each year and I spend an entire month doing that, it's like my profession.
Wow.
For the month of November, I've become sort of obsessed with the idea about all the different ways that people do the sales. And it follows me, this obsession with this follows me all year round. And I'm really interested. And you can have companies like Isotope and Waves and ATO that essentially have a sale 365 days a year. They are always doing 1 or 10 or 20 sales every day of the year. And then there are companies that will only do 2 sales a year. And there's all these different variations. And, the sale idea is, well, you better buy now. There's a time limit, and that makes people panic, like, oh, I better take advantage of this because this deal will never come back again until like 3 months later when it does. But they particular, I think that hits people who have not been doing this for a while. They just go, let me do that. And that's an obvious thing. And there's also intro prices are like sales. Something comes out and it's less and it's going to go up. And so you feel you have to buy now. And I'm also thinking, because this week there is currently a video that's been sent out by Spitfire for forums, which is talking about a mysterious library that they won't tell you anything about. And they show you a weird video that doesn't tell you anything. And Christian Henson comes on and says, well, I'm more than usually excited about this. I'm always excited, but now this is very personal to me. And I'm like, wow, but he won't tell you what it is. And the idea is we fall for it every time. There'll be 90 pages on this forum, on this music forum, of people discussing endlessly. I mean, people joke and they make fun of the marketing, but they still talk about it for days and days and days until the thing comes out. And I think that they sell incredibly good products, but they also add something to it in the way that Apple does, which is, and they're the best at it. They're the masters at it, I think. They add a certain gloss to it. I don't know, a certain artsy, um, cool desirability to these products based on the way they create advanced videos on them and based on the way they demonstrate them. You get to know, you know, Home and all these people there who demonstrate them. So there is a whole kind of bouquet or something that surrounds these products before they come out. So I think that's something that's been on my mind because they're actually doing it as we speak.
Yeah, excellent. It made me also realize it's true, everything you're saying, but it's also they're catering to a desire that we have that we can also talk about, you know, the what is it we think we're gonna get, you know, by buying these products? What is it they're promising to us? And I can only speak for myself, but one of the reasons I've been so fascinated with this is because, you know, I said in another podcast that I really like the idea of I have the whole orchestra in front of me. I can just create everything. It's all there. I can just play around and have fun. And I think in a way, if I'm honest with myself, when it comes to, well, I can start with plugins, which I don't buy too many now. I sort of had this idea that if I just buy that plugin, I'll just turn that dial and that button and everything will sound amazing. It will just be the best music ever. And I know, right, this is not true, but I noticed there's something in me that sort of has that idea. If I just have that plugin, then everything will be amazing. And when it comes to instruments, I think I'm also sort of looking for the perfect instrument. It's going to make it easier to write, and it just sounds so natural and so real, and I don't have to have a real instruments or whatever. So I just wanted to bring that in as well, that I think that there's a play between, you know, that desire, at least for me. You guys can talk about what you read, disappeared. And
Yeah,
Yeah, you
had a call.
had a call.
you had a call. No
I
problem.
think one of the things that Reid was mentioning was the mystery that surrounds it. So they start like 2 or 3 weeks before something comes out, and it's like concentration. They just show you just a little bit. So it's the excitement of what you don't see is what it's the anticipation. Oh, and then you got a little bit more. Oh my gosh, it's kind of, you know, and then it creates that discussion. What is it? We thought, we come up with these crazy things of what this is going to be. And then when it comes out, it goes, it's just like, oh, okay. Ukulele library. Oh gosh, I've got 1,000 of those. So that is the danger too. So I guess it could be a ratio. So the excitement, you can build it up like this. You better deliver. If you build it up like this, because if it gets to there and it goes, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But I think it's the tease and the anticipation and the unknown that we fill in the blanks, so to speak. We fill in the blanks with what we want to see happen, and then the disappointment comes when that's not fulfilled. And in fact, this 621 thing that they're doing, it's got a little creepiness going on around it too. So it's a little weird. So I'm curious to what it's going to be too. But that's the thing. Even negative attention is, you know, there's research that is done that people will seek negative attention, and it is just as powerful as positive attention. So even negative press is valuable to a company because at least they're talking about you. So when they stop talking about you, you got to be, that's when you start to worry. So, but I concur with Reid that Spitfire is the Apple of the music software industry.
Well, I think
no,
different companies
there's
do different tricks. I would say. I just wanted to
yeah.
mention something here. I don't know if we lost all our chat, but if you are in the chat, if you're interested, you could definitely write us a question or two. We might be able to take care of that. I just want to say that so you can always participate, or perhaps you've thought of something that we can add. But Matthias, have you any particular company or a strategy that you noticed that is sort of that
Well,
irks you?
something that was already mentioned is the always on sale companies. So I can
Yeah.
think of two, Waves and East West. Both have that. So that's the funny thing. But actually, with Spitfire, because I think we've mostly been talking about them, I actually kind of wonder how you guys feel about if they've gone a little bit too far with it. It's like they do it very well. I think we can all agree on that. But to me, it's become annoying actually, and it's put me off for quite a long time from many of their products. I've just made the decision like I don't like the way they do their marketing, and I'm not gonna look at their products anymore.
But
So
does it
that's I
make
mean that's personal, but
you don't want to buy it anymore? Is that what you feel like? I'm not going to buy it just because of that.
yeah, most of the time, and sometimes I will look at it. Like for example, with the Abbey Road stuff. I mean, yeah, that's just very hard to resist. So I did look at that. But the other stuff, I feel. I mean, how many string libraries have they done, and how many more times can you be very excited about something? I mean,
Yeah.
and all the jokes about things being game changers and all that stuff. I mean,
Well, I
because
guess
they're
that's the
also
problem,
so
really. How many times?
hyperbolic with their marketing. That's like
Yeah.
there's no room for them to go anymore.
Yeah.
They can't say, well, this time it's really game changing.
I just want to say
Yeah.
before I go on that I do notice here for some reason we have problems today that it does seem like, at least at my view here, that we're not seen today. It only says Composers Roundtable in the stream, and I have no idea why. So you can hear us at least. So sorry about that. So I just wanted to let you know. I don't know how it looks on you guys' end, but I only.
So I'm
that.
seeing it here, Sam. So
Oh, so you do see it?
I'm monitoring it here, and we've got two people in chat.
Excellent.
Right
Well,
now.
I got that.
So,
I have the
yeah.
people in chat. It's just on the preview video. It only says episode 3, but no worries. Then fine. Then I'm happy about that.
Go ahead. Do you
Just
hit the
what-
start? Go ahead and hit the start, and it might that might just be like the thumbnail. So just push the.
Oh
push
yeah,
play.
it could be. Yeah, but don't no worries about it. I don't
But you
need to
got
see
it.
I'm good. I don't see myself.
Yeah. So Matthias, you're in the you're in the wah wah wah. You're in that camp. Yeah. See that, and that's the danger. Yeah, you can alienate people by doing that.
Well, personally, I feel like sorry to butt in there, but I just want to add. I feel like we're different stages because I definitely been in love or whatever you should call it. So I got really mesmerized by all the companies in different ways. But I feel like I've come to a point on all of them that I know their tricks and I know what the libraries can do. So I'm not so much turned off. It's more like, yeah, I know what you guys can do. So I'm not turned on so much, if you can say, oh, you're showing a lot of love and sex here. For example, I know more what to look for. And I can give one example, for example, 8Dio. Sorry, nothing against 8Dio. I like them. But I have figured out, and this is hard to explain because it's really a personal thing, but I understand their videos really well when they market stuff now. And I can say, like, if it makes sense to anyone, I listen to what they don't show. That tells me a lot what that library is. And they're not lying, they're not bad, but I know what they don't show. There's a reason for that. So I listen to, like, if they show off a legato, they do it in a very specific way, all kinds of stuff. So then I know more when I buy a library. I always say, actually, particularly ATU, if you hear something you like, then that library can do that. But if you don't hear things that you wanted to do, then don't buy it. It's like they're really, really specific, and they have excellent videos showing off their stuff, but they only really show exactly what you can do. So it's a good thing to look after, actually. So anyway, yeah. I actually, the all sales. I mean, Waves. You said that. I feel like ATO is starting to do that since the last year or so. They have a constant sale actually now on things. Which is quite good because I always thought they were a little too expensive, considering that you have to buy the contact player in order to use them. So, but yeah, that exactly. If anything turns me off, it's the constant sale. Actually, I'm like, yeah, because then I feel like
Yeah,
maybe
Waves
that,
is. well, Waves is like now the $29 store of everything.
Yeah.
And listen, I remember when Waves first came out with their first plugins, and they were $500-600 for a compressor plugin. And it was like, oh my gosh. And let's not even talk about their Pro Tools plugins, which could have been $1,200 for one plugin. Unbelievable. And now everything's so saturated. It's $29. There is a great developer, Hornet plugins. He is a great developer, and he's like 60% off about every 3 weeks. So, but it just is a way that I guess he can keep. You got to keep cash flow going somehow. And so, yeah, and 8DO, I think I tried one of their solo violin libraries based on the video, and it was like, wah, wah. And it's like, oh man. So yeah, so I've been very cautious on where that 50% coupon is going to go. But I saw your video on your channel, Sam, which was just very inspiring. And I think you said that you used some ADO string libraries in that, and
In that
it
case,
sounded very good.
anthology, more or less. I have a few other small ones, but anthology. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, when you say that, I really wanted to get Matthias in, but I just want to mention quickly another tactics, and then we can go over to you, Matthias, is that repackaging of libraries.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not against it because I understand it, but it's something you need to be aware of when you start to buying stuff, especially if you already have the products, so coming out. But Matthias, I think I interrupted you. I apologize. You were talking about companies. No, I wasn't?
No, I don't think you did. I do have a couple more thoughts about specifically East West, because in terms of marketing strategy, they also had a very funny thing going where they had, I think it was with Hollywood Choirs, I still remember that quite well. They had an announcement of an announcement, which turned out to be an announcement of an announcement. And I don't know how many levels deep it went, but it went maybe 2 or 3, I think, where they announced and announced and announced. And also other companies, it's not just East West. Other companies who announce things, then delay them, then delay again. And sometimes I wonder, maybe they delay on purpose in the sense, like, just to keep building the anticipation. And for some, it might be sincere, like they really have a delay. But I mean, it could be a tactic.
Could be. What do you think, Reid? Have you noticed any? What do you think of that, or have you noticed any other tactics?
Well, I feel like you touched on something very, very important for the marketing, and that's these demo videos, which are very artfully made. And I think I've never heard anybody express what you just did, which is something I feel all the time, which is I was looking at some of these vocal libraries from ATO because I thought, all right, it's half price. Maybe this is a good time to check one of these out. And it was just incredibly persuasive for me to not buy it, because I knew what I was looking for, and it was quite clear in showing me that it was not there. And so it was not a dishonest video, but if you watched it and you were fine with what you saw, then it was, it was an honest video. Because I saw it and I said, I'm not going to watch it. But the idea of I'm not going to buy it. The idea of all these videos is to get you to buy. And the idea of the demos that they hire wonderful composers to do. I mean, Simeon does them. I have a good friend, Tatiana Gordieva, who makes all these incredible demos, but I could never compose like her. So, it presents the library in a way that is not real for me to have all these amazing composers do stuff with it. So it's very difficult. You're buying these things that often are quite expensive. You cannot return them in a lot of cases. And you have to make the judgment based on a lot of strange things, some excitement that a company like Spitfire can build up on you, and this, it's a chance of a lifetime to get this sale. And there's all these things, audio plugin deals. It's like, it was $2,000 and it's $8 this week. So I don't need it. I have no interest in it, but that's so much off. I better get that. And and it's like, so you buy this thing and that's sort of it. It goes in your hard disk somewhere to
Yeah.
be completely forgotten. And I have one other thing I don't know if I'll throw out there, unless you have more stuff, any of you, to talk about the things that are already out. Already
No, go
No,
ahead,
been
Reid.
just
discussed?
Sure.
I'm interested now. You teased it, so
Well, this is a kind of personal thing, which is feature bloat. And it's the idea that if something has, 100 velocity levels and 4,000 round robins and it's 2 terabytes, it's like, so there's this idea, the more samples, this idea that the more that people feel, well, it's better. And, for example, in velocity levels, that's seems great, but most MIDI keyboards cannot deal with that kind of delicacy. So you're not, unless you really, really have a good one, you're not going to get, and most people don't, you're not going to get any results out of this by, say, playing a piano with that. You could get it in MIDI editing, but I think when I see a piano and they tell me it's 1 million velocity levels, it makes me feel that it's better than one that only has 4. But it might not be for a lot of people unless they really are looking to edit it. And a piano virtual instrument, I'm looking to play it. I'm not looking to edit it. And so I think a lot of what is being sold is an illusion. And I think people are very easily led because if they think it's better, it is better.
they're
They hear
setting
things.
spec sheets.
Yeah, they're just, so they hear that the piano's better, and then they feel it is better. And I think that what makes a virtual instrument has to do with the instrument that was recorded, the room the instrument was in, the talents of the person who did it, the scripting. So I'm not saying that those other things don't matter, because when you do have very, very good people recording, they usually put in a decent amount of round robins and velocity levels and things like that. But somebody like Eduardo Tarilonte, he's not necessarily going to be advertising his stuff by sheer bulk of gigabytes or something. What he's really selling is his artistry, which you have learned from owning a bunch of his libraries, if you're lucky enough to have done that. And then you see he did a new one and you just go, I bet it's good. And it is.
But I've also learned by knowing a few people in different industries that if you have a bigger company, then the sales department has nothing to do with the artistry. So I don't know about Spitfire because they seem to do everything there. But the guys who create the instruments or a game or movie or whatever have very little to do with the advertising, and usually they are miles apart when it comes to artistry and how to sell a product. I just want to say again, one of my favorite companies, Spectrasonics, and I just like them so much because I think it was one of the later videos of Trillion, and I forgot the artist name because I'm getting old and I forget people all the time. It was so funny. It was the Pocket Queen playing the drums.
Greg Philinganis.
Thank you.
Philinganis and the Pocket Queen.
And I didn't
That's
buy
a
the
genius
library,
video.
but I
That's a
love
genius
that
video.
video. I just love them so much for that. You gotta go check that out because that's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
I haven't
Incredible.
heard of it, so
oh, go and check
And
it
it
out.
makes
Yes.
you happy. It
Yeah,
makes you happy.
really makes you happy. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
ask you
Greg
guys quickly.
Philinganis is the best. Yeah.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah, you're right. I just wanted to ask you guys quickly before we move on. I think it's like, do you have any good tips or something that you can think about when you want to buy a library? Is there something you can look out for or think about actually when you check out the advertising or hype? What do you say, Matthias? Do you have any good ideas? What do you do?
actually I was just looking up the video you mentioned, so it kind of went by me.
No worries. Do you have any good ideas on when you buy a library and you look at the advertising or the hype? It's like, do you check for something? What's your tips? How do you know if it's good or not?
Oh, that's hard to say. Well, usually I'm usually a little bit suspicious of like very short teasers because, as you say, what they don't show well, and if it's a very short video, they are not showing a lot. So it's always hard to judge those. I don't know. I would say I kind of base it on what my experience with the company has been so far already. That comes into it. And of course, some of the demo writers also write for different companies, and I kind of know what they can and can't do. And if I can hear that they're struggling with a certain product, or making it, or like making use of the samples or the part of the library that works the best, like using only all the shorts or something like that, then that's a red flag as well. Yeah, but I'd have to give it a little bit more thought. This
No worries.
question.
You might think of it later. Simeon, do you have any good tips on how to look at things?
Well, I'm like Reid had mentioned that I do a lot of I actually do a lot of demos for a lot of these companies. My approach is that and this is why I love doing live streams when I get a new library to look at. I just want to get on and just play it, because to me that is the best way that because I want to have, first of all, I want to have the integrity to not be like a Spitfire fanboy or Heaviosity or some of the ones that, or VSL. Those companies have been very gracious, and so the line that you walk, you have to be realistic and not present a false sense of this can do more than what it can do. My desire is just like I want you to see me open the box. It's like somebody said, it's like you're opening a box at Christmas and finding something in there. And so that it's very difficult. But like I think I'm hearing a theme as far as Reid mentioned Edward Talleyrand. Say that for me, Reid.
Eduardo
Tagliolante.
Tagliolante. Yeah.
Eduardo Tagliolante, and then Tagliolante. Yeah. So, and then Sam mentions Spectrasonic. So you have histories with these companies, and so you know that you have a relation. It's all about a relationship. It's relating to the company, how the company treats you as a customer, how the product is presented, and how you're satisfied with the product. Like if you go to a restaurant and have a really crummy meal, evidently you're not going to go back to that restaurant, and you're not going to give it a very high review. So it's the same thing. If there's like you get a library and you get a bad taste in your mouth after using it, because you had an expectation, you're going to be very cautious on doing that again. But if you have a great experience with a library, you're gonna go back. So like with Omnisphere and Spectrasonics, because that you're going to get the best steak in the house when they bring something out.
But I was wondering, somebody in the chat here a while ago, I'm sorry we took a while to get to it, but David Anson to Reid's point about feature bloat, perhaps the market is so super saturated that a developer feels is necessary to offer something different simply to get noticed. And I was just thinking about that as you were talking, Simeon, that some companies like, for example, Spectrasonic, who has such a good reputation, and maybe they're looking at their sales and they're like, yeah, there's nothing we need to do. We don't need to have a sale. But other companies are like, look at the figures, and they're just starting to get desperate. I don't know. I'm just guessing. They start to try all kinds of stuff in order to get noticed. I don't know. What do you think, Reid? Does that...
Well, I think there are companies that bring out a new library every half hour. And then there are companies like, I don't know how fast ATO comes out with libraries, but pretty fast. And a company like Spectrasonics, where it's, the cicadas come out faster than Spectrasonics libraries. You're just waiting and waiting, and they do updates.
Yeah.
But how long has it been since Keyscape? 2016, I believe, is when Keyscape came out, and that's the last one. And and I'm of course dreaming of Guitarscape. I'm hoping they will pick something like that. And what's next? And so what will it be? And I don't know, but I'm assuming that there's doing something like Keyscape that will be spectacular.
Yeah, that
And
would be
it'll be
nice. I
something
agree.
and they don't discount, and so you don't have to worry. When it comes out, you just get it if you can, and you never have to worry. It's not going to be discounted, and with that name on it, you can buy it. And they do wonderful videos, but they're not really necessary for me. It's Eric Persing and his high standards and the people he brings around with him that are just he cares about every single preset.
Yeah.
There's nothing he sends out there that is not really good. And I guess it takes a long time to create something like that. And Matthias is talking about cinematic studio series. I just don't have any worries when you know, I'm good. I have all of them. I have all the stuff. And when the percussion comes out, I'm not going to worry about it. The only thing that I'll be worrying about
You're
is whether
fanboy.
do I have money, at the time. Because I don't have as many. I'm not a pro, so I don't have a lot of string. I don't have a lot of orchestral libraries, but I'm just very happy with that one. I think, Matthias, I think you like to focus on it too. I think you try to get the most out of it
Yeah.
from watching your videos.
Yeah, exactly. And with the cinematic studio series, I think it speaks to Simeon's point as well. You just sort of have established that trust. I think, I must have gotten Cinematic Strings 2, or sorry, not Cinematic. What was it called again? Yeah, Cinematic Strings 2. I think was one of their first string libraries, and I got that, and I like that, and I like the simplicity of it. They have the little blocks, the easy interface, which they also have with the current series. And I think Alex Wolbank, who's the developer, has just really proved that he has a very good quality assurance. And like Reid, I don't worry about getting it. So at that point, because I've seen with all his previous products that they work for me at least. So
I think a basic thing is if you will, there's people will not release a product until it's ready. And having done a web business once, one thing I found out was that you could get it like 70% of the way in a few months, and then it would take you a year to get it to 90%. But then to get it that last 5 or 10%, that was another year. And I think a lot of people, when they're involved in a business, they're just going to say, I'm going to send this out. It's got problems in it, and we'll do an update or something like that. We'll fix it when people complain about it, or maybe they won't fix it when people complain about it. And I think when Alex Wallbank releases a library, it's ready. It's not. I think that's one thing we know about him, and that's something we know about. We're not going to hear, if we get a new library, if we're lucky enough to get a new library from Spectrasonics, you're probably not going to hear somebody coughing in the background on one of the notes. Who's not going to hear chair creaks and things like that. Nothing like that is possible to get by them. They're not. They're going to triple, quadruple check everything.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of time to take software and get it that last few inches to the finish line. That's one thing I learned from this business I did. And you think, wow, if you can get so far along with it in 2 or 3 months, this isn't going to take any time at all.
Yeah, exactly.
On how it works. Yeah.
So I just thought, I don't know, I thought I should just share my ideas on how I purchase libraries or anything like that, or if I do, and see what you guys think. And I generally say, don't do it. No, but that's my first advice. No, but really, check your stuff first. I mean, if you are completely new and you have nothing, then obviously you need something. But just really double check you. Maybe you have it somewhere in some big library. Maybe you can already do this stuff because it is that, I want this new feeling. So that's the first thing I would do. Then the second thing, don't buy something that just came out. Really don't. I mean, if you do YouTube like we do, then maybe we get review copies and all that, and sort of a privilege doing that stuff. But otherwise, don't ever. Don't pre-purchase. Don't get it immediately unless you know it's amazing. You've checked it out and it's a reliable company or whatever. And be careful with companies that have a lot of design, like really like fantastic interfaces and buttons, and it really shines and there's bells and things going on. And my favorite example is Performance Samples. Look at their interface. You can't get more boring than that because they put all the resources into the sound, for example. There's nothing wrong with a nice interface. I like it too. But, just think, what are they spending their money on? And they have all these videos and these famous people coming over or whatever. I'm not going to name companies here, but I know there's some companies who are in the chat. That turns me off. They're just, saying things. Also be aware of sponsored videos. I mean, if you do a review, that's one thing. But if it's a very obvious sponsored video where they're just the YouTuber sounds almost the same as the company, be careful. And my last tip again, look for what it doesn't do.
Yeah, those are very good points.
What do you need?
Yeah.
And if you need what you don't hear, then that library is not for you. Even if it sounds amazing doing everything else. I can give a personal example, and I was very happy I got this library, but I was given an example. I have Insolidus by 8dio. I love that library. I think it's absolute fantastic. It's one of the best choir libraries I've ever gotten. I was so happy when I received it. But it is incredibly specific. It does one thing very well, so it doesn't do the other things very well. So that's an example. Again, you listen to those demos. What it does is so good. It's the best thing I've ever heard. There's nothing that beats it. But if you want to do other things, yeah, it sucks. I mean, to put it that. No, I'm a little nasty there. But anyway.
So if anything, going back to like use what you have, I was the music director at a church, and the drummer comes up to me and he says, "Man, I want to learn how to play the bass guitar." And without any hesitation, I said, "Well, when you master the drums, I think that would be a good idea." So it's like we're buying new. I think we're looking for the gold at the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold. And it's like, if I buy this library, that's going to be it. And then it's not it. And then we have terabytes of space on the hard drive occupied with all of these libraries that we haven't touched in 2 years. And so that's the thing. It's just like, that first point, what you said, when you see a new announcement of a software library, run away, and look at what you have and, get the most out of that. And I think that's a big challenge. I think we don't get the full potential from what we have because we're always chasing after the thing that's going to be the magic fairy dust or whatever that's just going to make everything just appear. So I think it's good.
I think this is actually a very nice segue into the getting stuck theme.
Yes.
Because having all those choices, I found, lead to sort of being overwhelmed by, well, I can use this instrument, I can use that one. I have too many choices, and that actually can also lead to some kind of creative paralysis where you like, oh, okay, I tried this library. Okay. And sometimes you have those days, at least I have them, where just every note sounds wrong. You press one note and it's like, no, that's not it. And then, so, yeah.
Absolutely right. I just want to say, Complete Control or other big libraries, you need to have a feature where you press a button that says, libraries or sounds I have never used. Click on it and it comes up. That would be just really good.
That's
anyway, sorry.
Idea. Yeah.
But Matthias, you're really right that of having too many libraries, and I thought I didn't have so many, but I think I do. I don't know where. But yeah, when you start to really look for sounds for half an hour or an hour, I just posted something really silly on my channel saying that browsing too many patches on Spectrasonics syndrome. I've noticed when I've done that sometimes when I create a song for or do sound design, I get really drained when I sit and browse Spectrasonic sounds. So it goes for anything there. Matthias.
By the way, actually, just as a very small side, but have any of you ever bought the same thing twice, accidentally? I haven't, not to my knowledge, but I know some people have. It's been on VI Control like a joke because.
Oh really?
Oh, people collect stuff,
I know some people who have done that more. So yeah. I think that's. I did a video once on templates. So the idea would be I would do a template that's ambient guitars. And then you search and search for through programs that you wouldn't even think about, that have one ambient guitar in them if it's not an ambient guitar, and you really spend a little time out of it, and before long you have this quite substantial template, because I find that can be a healthy thing in terms of keeping track of this stuff as you're getting it, so you at least, and the other thing is to be able to compare them. Which one do I like better than this? And quite often I'll find, when I have many things, that I'll always choose Omnisphere for a sound. And that shocked me, because before I started doing the templates, I hardly used Omnisphere at all, because the idea of searching in Omnisphere was too overwhelming, so I just wouldn't find things.
Reid,
And
would you say
so,
that template is a way of that you don't get stuck, so you create these templates and then you don't have to later on do all that searching, so that you can go directly and just play with? Is that what you mean?
yeah, you know how in Cubase you can load up a template and then you can do it really quickly, and then you can grab one of the tracks out of it. So if I need something, like I need a pad or something, I just load up the pad template and I loaded up like 6 of them. So there's no searching. There is a great deal of homework involved in that. But I actually, that's another, it's a nice procrastination thing for me. I actually enjoy the process of making these templates. I really enjoy them. Do it. I play with these instruments I discover. And so I would say a template helps me. And the other thing is to every now and then do a little shopping for the instrument you already,
Yeah.
pretend like you don't own it, and then start watching the videos and looking at the marketing for it, and just see if you can get yourself all excited again about this thing that you've already paid for.
That's a very, very good one. I
Yeah.
use that quite a lot. It's a very good anti-gas measure. It's like a gas mask.
Thank you, guys. I've never tried this. This sounds really cool. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that. That's really good. Simeon, what, how do you get stuck? I don't know what to ask to get you in there. Yeah.
A lot of getting stuck is how you feel in the moment, emotionally. Musicians are very emotional for the most part, personalities, and sometimes if I'm just not feeling it, just not being in the right frame of mind is the biggest obstacle sometimes for me, because so much goes on in the course of living, and we are not robots. We're human beings, and we are going through life together. And somebody asks us to do something, or you want to. I probably have hundreds of arrangements on the hard drive that are never that are not done. And it's like the motivation to finish, to get up and play. So it's like somebody asks you to play, and it's just like, man, I'm just not feeling it. So that is the biggest block for me sometimes. But when I get into the flow of things, then it's just like you don't want to get out of it. And it's just trying to keep yourself inspired and feeling good, emotionally for me. I have a pretty positive outlook on life, but sometimes it gets pretty real, and you've got to work through that process. And sometimes every note sounds the same, every piano sounds the same. And so you've got to just say, okay, so I'm going to own this. I've got to stop and take a step back, and then come back and look at it again. And so sometimes getting a fresh look at things are great, but there's times when everything sounds the same.
Well, what do you normally do then?
Like,
if you feel like that creative block, or whatever you should call it, so what's your strategy? Do you sort of, as you say, you take a break or day, or you go out?
Yeah,
or, yeah.
You've got to walk away from it. There's a trap that happens where you're trying so hard to fix it in the moment, and it's not working, and you've been trying to do it for an hour, and an hour turns into, it's like Inception, the movie Inception, where you're going down different levels. So a musician's perception of time is like 2 levels down from reality. So it's like our hour is like a day in the real world. We get locked. So you have to forcibly pull yourself away sometimes and go to the grocery store, go take a walk. It has to take action, because we're sitting down at these workstations for several hours. So you've got to find ways to break that up, to get out, take a breath of fresh air, turn the computer off, go listen to something. Go listen to something that has nothing to do with what you're working on. And
Actually,
then you'll come back.
I actually have 2 advice on that point. So you come back to that my viewers might know already. And this is an app. Unfortunately, only works on Windows, but it's free and it's called Work Rave, and it's a fantastic little thing that you set up whatever you want, so that after maybe 45 minutes or half an hour, it will warn you, and then after a while, it will make your computer inoperable. You can bypass it.
Oh.
And it's not dangerous. It's not a sort of virus or anything. You can bypass it, but it tells you need to get up and stretch or whatever for 5 minutes and then come back again. And I can tell you, everything that damn thing comes on, I hate it so much, but it's so good. I really, if you have a problem with this, if you tend to just work on forever, I can tell, well, take myself an example. If I've sat with something for like 4 or 5 hours straight, I am destroyed for a day at least afterwards.
Yeah.
So if I have that little thing on that I hate it. It reminds me to get away from a computer for 5 minutes, jump or whatever, come back, and it saves my sanity. I also have a dog, by the way, that helps too. But I just wanted to mention that thing, Simeon, so you can go ahead again.
Well, it's accountability. We have to have some sort of accountability, and so just like that app is like your accountability partner. And it's all wrapped up. Music is just something it's a very unusual thing, because you can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't feel it, but yet it creates all of those emotions and all of those feelings. And so it's just, yeah. So I'm going to have to take a look at that. We'll have to sledgehammer, like, no, I've got it. But this is the thing. Oh, I almost got it. 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
5 more minutes. Yeah. My wife says, my wife knows when I say 5 more minutes, it's probably going to be a half hour, 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to establish accountability. And if that's a way to do it, and we'll be healthier, and our music will sound better.
It does. With mixing as well, everybody knows if you go over an hour, 45 minutes, you don't mix well anymore. It doesn't sound good. You're going to make more mistakes. So absolutely. There's another one called Cold Turkey, which I think is even rougher because you can't turn it off at all. It really just locks your computer. It's like, bye. But it's very powerful. You can set it to all kinds of stuff like schedules. It's something to look into if you have problems there. So Matthias, do you have any good ideas, or if you have a creative block, or you're getting stuck, how do you combat that?
Oof. Well, I think most of the points were already mentioned. So, like stepping away from it, which I actually don't do all the time. So I should be doing that. I should be installing one of those apps I think, because I very much recognize the thing where you get in a flow state and you feel like I have to really do it now because I'm going to be out of my flow state in like 3 hours. So I have to get it done before those 3 hours are up. That's how it works for me, at least. As for getting unstuck, I think actually for me that's an ongoing battle still. Because, for example, the last 2 weeks I've tried to create a little bit of music, but I had those days where all the notes sound wrong, and so actually I'm very interested in what you guys have to say about it, because I could use the help, actually, I think.
I think we all could do. Just talking to each other, it's really helpful. So I'm not expert in this. I could just say a little bit my own struggle. I'm not a perfectionist in general in my life, but I think with music, I know too much, which is a problem. So I know how I can fix things and tweak. So when I hear something I don't like, I start to mess with it. And that is a big problem that, gets me sidetracked.
That's actually a really
So
Good
so
point.
something, just set templates are good, and just really stick with this simple stuff. Like don't use plugins, nothing. Just absolutely basic stuff is very important. But also to be kind to myself, because I am very tough on myself in this regard. Like, oh, it is not what I hear in my head, and I get frustrated, and those extra 5 minutes can be 5 hours, not really, but yeah, I just sit there until I get it the way I want it. So a schedule, I've noticed, for me, and I'm gonna get to second point when that's good for me personally. It might not work for you. I have very specific work hours, and I stick to those. And I go into work at that time, and I stop at that time. Not always, but I try to do that, because a lot of people talk about flow, and I think that's important and true. But I might need to do a work or a deadline, and I might not have that flow, and I'm training myself to work anyway, not to frustrate myself and suffer, but to, as a practice, go back to it and do it all over again. Just like I'm lifting weights. Sometimes I love when I train, but I don't always love it. I keep doing it, and it becomes a habit, and that is one way of not being in control of your flow. So like, I can only compose if I am in flow. Yeah, but maybe you're only in a flow on August 13th. I mean, there's something about
Yeah.
having a practice so that you might get into more flows, basically.
If I can break in on a point
Sure.
you mentioned about knowing too much, that actually triggered something for me where I think, well, maybe I do know a way to get unstuck. Because I've noticed that if I sometimes listen back to my own stuff from like years and years and years ago, when I knew a lot less, that actually, I sometimes, like most of the thing isn't that great, but then sometimes there's a little idea in there that I think, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. Because I didn't know any better, basically, I was just free to create at that point. So sometimes listening to really, really old stuff can actually get me going for
Do you know
creating
in
something new.
Zen, the Buddhist Zen, there is it goes like this: in the beginner's minds, the options are endless. In the experts, there are few,
Yeah, well,
because when you're a beginner, you try everything, right? If you're an expert, you're very limited. So, right on.
yeah, exactly.
I also feel that the digital world, it was supposed to make things easier for us. And the tools actually, because of what you've expressed about giving you infinite options, they actually make things harder. And also, clients and people, or maybe ourselves, we're not willing to accept anything that's less than perfect. I work as a writer, where I used to, and long ago, I would sit and focus my mind, and then I would type on a typewriter. And changing it after I typed was very difficult. You had to use whiteout or whatever like that. So the writing would happen in your mind, and you would stick to it. You would do a good job figuring out what that was going to be, what that page was going to be. But as soon as you could have computers and rewrite, then you can endlessly rewrite the sentence. And a DAW is like that too. You can do endless revisions on the notes, on the CC editing. You can change the instrument to one of 1,000 other instruments. You can put all these different effects on it. So you could work on one song or one piece of music forever if that was something you were crazy enough to do.
I agree.
There's no end to it.
There's auto-tune. I mean, there are other tools too, but I was thinking, the perfect singing, as we call it. It sounds too perfect. I've taught voice for a while, and I've noticed a lot of students have very strange ideals in what they want to sound like. So yeah, I think that's another sign of that. For sure.
There was a singer that said, I've trained myself to auto-tune myself.
Okay.
And it's like, oh my gosh, it's like so. Yeah, it's just like so. We've become accustomed. People don't know what real singing is really like, because everything has been so processed. So It's like, I can sing like I've been auto-tuned. That really struck me so funny. And I mean, this was a serious vocalist, but to hear him say something like that, it was like, That just is like, meh, no. While I'm thinking about it, Brian Eno had these cards. I can't remember the cards about creativity or coming up with like, it's like a deck of cards that you can you pick up, and
there's an app. I used to have this. I forgot it.
there
It's
is
on
there,
the, you
yeah.
can get it on the iPad or iPhone.
Oh, it's a great one. I forgot what it's called, but someone has to look it up. Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to find it, so I don't know if I could. But yeah, you just pick a card and it gives you some inspiration or something, or an idea. Yeah, that's
Oblique strategies.
That's the one.
Yes.
Oblique strategies.
That's an excellent one. Yeah, that's really good. I used to have
Yeah.
that. But I just wanted to
And
say
some far out things, you know,
Yeah.
just some far out ideas, like play with, you know, this hand, you know, with one hand behind your back, you know, jump on one foot and sing an A flat, you know, something, but it's something to kind of shake you up and take you out of that comfort zone, you know, put you on a different track.
Restrictions is what you remind me of, Simeon, when you say that. It's really great. I just say, if you have an orchestra, you know, just write a song for tambourine and bassoon, you know. It's going to be difficult, but hey, have at it. You know, that it's funny sometimes, or you just have a specific meter. I saw a video, I forgot who it was, where they could only use the Lokeren scale. I mean, it's, you know, stuff like that. It can be very funny, actually. I've noticed, for me personally, when I write music to a melody I didn't create, I come up with 3 billion ideas. I don't know what that is. I think it is because I want to be too perfect with the melody. But if somebody else created it already, yeah, I'm limited to that. So then I'm just having fun. So for me, sometimes
I think I might have the same thing, because all three of you have created a melody for the for our stinger, basically, and I haven't yet. So
All right. Oh yeah, you created the melody. That's true. I see what you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, but at least the melody is done, so you don't have to redo that one.
yeah, well,
I was wondering, guys, should we? It seems like we. Do you want to talk a little bit about health and why it matters? Because I feel this is tied to what we're talking about, getting stuck and all that.
Oh, absolutely.
Personally, I can just start a little bit quickly. I've had, I mean, first I just want to say a big one. You know, I'm a believer that everything is tied to everything. So there are no easy solutions, and you need to look at very different areas of your life. But one thing that has affected me a lot is my moods. You know, I might seem like a happy guy, but I'm not a depressed person or anything like that. But what I mean is that I have had a very bad stomach for many years, and that really drains your energy. So I have learned through the years the hard way what I can eat and how I can live, because if my belly is not good, there's no creativity. So my whole point of this, for me personally, we'll see what you guys think, is that I need to be in very good health. Otherwise, I cannot work. It's sort of, it becomes impossible. I mean, at least not now. I'm 45 now, so it might not be the oldest, but I start to notice these things more. So I just wanted to start with that health for me is essential. It might not be the same for you guys, but yeah. What do you say, Reid? Is health important for you? Or you can eat and drink whatever you want? You can still
Well, I'm a lot older than you, and what happens is certain things start to go.
Yeah.
So, like, I have arthritis on my fingers, and so I can't play piano or guitar like the way I used to do. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, but you find other ways to make music. If you're held back in one way, then you just take a different path. But I would say, if you are healthy, cherish it and do everything you can to. I mean, I'm healthy, knock wood, but there are some things like that. I have problems with my fingers, and things do happen as you get older. So, so take advantage, and I agree 1,000% with what you said about taking good care of yourself. It's good for everything, not just music.
Yeah. Just remind me, my father is a very skilled guitarist, and he couldn't play for a few years. Something happened to his fingers, and I don't know how he solved it, but it had something to do with stress and other things. I mean, also age, obviously, but he managed to calm down and feel less pressured by making music, and that actually helped a little bit. So anyway, it just reminded me when you said that. So Matthias, have you're younger, right? I don't know your age.
yeah, well, I'm 28, coming on 29. So, but actually, this has been something I think it needs attention. Speaking just for myself, I, in the sense that I recognize what you're saying, that health can of course have a great impact on how you feel, and that can then affect your music. So I recognize that part, but also recognize that it's something I probably need to address a little bit in my life, especially now with the corona. I've really noticed like how much more lazy I've gotten because of all the working from home, and you don't see people as much in real, in person anymore. So there's no real incentive to do that as well. And yeah, I think that might actually have to do something with a little bit of the creative drought I've been having. So I'm again with this topic, I'm afraid I'll just mostly be listening to the advice you have, because I feel the advice would be useful for me, and I don't think I'm really in a position to give any advice at this point. So
No, but I mean, maybe you're right. I don't think so. But maybe you are doing something that other person haven't thought about. That's just that. It's not that I or anyone knows better, because we're all unique. But sometimes an idea can spark inspiration in somebody else. I just want to mention briefly, I don't know how to do this, but I really want to create a video where I go out and do movements from silly movements from a superhero movie. And then, because I get ideas in my head when I do these movements, that's how I work. So I just thought, as a fun inspiration video, like show people that if you move in a certain way, you will get music in your head that you don't get by sitting still. So I don't know if I can do it.
it's interesting.
So anyway, Simeon.
Well, you have to be alive in order to do anything. If we are not present on this planet, we can't produce music or do anything. So if we are passengers, somebody, I just celebrated a birthday in May, and I'm thinking age is just the odometer that registers the age of the vehicle that we're driving around in. And who we really are as people, our spirit is ageless, but this body has to be maintained and taken care of so it can carry us around to do the things that we're supposed to do. Because if this is not a living, then we can't do anything. We can't do it. And the thing is, it's the attitude that we're indestructible. It's that indestructibility syndrome. And then you come to a point where something starts happening and you're going, oh my gosh, I am not immortal. So it causes you to have to start looking, especially as you get older. I have had some issues with the cubital tunnel sometimes, and feeling numbness and tingling and pain and different things. And it's like, you know what, you got to fix that. You got to fix that, because you can't, and so that's why, I try to do the vertical mouse and try to do stuff.
Good point.
The other thing that I have to work on is just getting up more, moving more. And that's very difficult for me. I'm very, very sedentary sometimes, and I've got to get up and move more. But things
I think that's
will
difficult
happen.
for everybody who are sitting composers.
It is. It's just when we're in this position, and talk about mood swings, Sam. Yeah, buddy. We have those. We have those.
Yeah.
And a lot of it with me. I can have a sugar high, and then man, I can be bouncing off the walls, and then boom, I can be down in the dumps, and it's just like it's crazy. So. Learning about yourself, knowing yourself, knowing your body. And then, like you were saying, when you're dealing with these issues, Sam, when one part of the body suffers, the whole body suffers with it. You can stub your toe and your whole body's going to suffer with it. So I think it's just very important, right? Especially Matthias, right now you have the opportunity to start good habits and things. So we're not 20 or 30 years down the road going, oh my gosh, I can't, I can't believe it, and time moves so quickly. You don't realize it. Yeah. You don't realize it until something happens. And so you have a pain, or you have something bumping, or a blood test comes back. Those are like those warning lights on the dashboard saying, you know what? You gotta take a look at this, and I think it's interesting with this roundtable. It's like an interesting accountability. It's like to have other people that we can talk to and share these real life experiences. Because, if we're going through it, we're not the only ones. Being able to share like this is very cathartic, very important. So, I'm going to try to walk more so I can feel better, because you can't compose if you feel crappy. It doesn't happen. It won't happen.
And it can be very
So,
difficult. For example, I mean, there's some great views there, Simeon, and it reminded me. For example, I just wanted to say again, this is also very personal, because, for example, I realized I can't drink coffee, and oh my God, I love coffee, and it's sort of, I put it in my veins almost, like a syringe, because I love it so much, and it gives me that creative spark. I never taken drugs in my life, so I don't know. But for me, coffee is almost like cocaine. No, I mean, it just gives me so much juice, And I've realized I can't take it because I crash from it, and I destroy my belly. Some people can handle coffee great, but for me, it was just, even though I love coffee, I have to realize I cannot drink it. And after 2 weeks, because it took a while, I can't tell you, I feel much better. So you have to be open to what that is. And it can be very different for everybody. And it can be a pain in the ass to find out what it is. I was a vegetarian. I realized I have to eat meat. Also very difficult. So I'm quite extreme. I'm not saying in my ways, but I find out that I had to make some radical changes. But that might not be the case for you. But to just have that awareness as well. If something's not working, if you're feeling, it can be that you're just not creative in that moment, obviously. But it could also be that, you're not taking care of yourself. That's the whole point.
There's this thing, the pandemic, which really happened. And in my building, there's a health club. I mean, it's a very small thing, but it has some machines. And I went down there 4 times a week, and they closed it for the pandemic.
Wow.
And so it's been shut for, all these months and still not open. And, that was devastating, because I had a nice routine going with that exercise, and it just shut off. And
Wow.
and now, and I just didn't pick up on it in the apartment. There's no reason why I couldn't have. I even bought a machine, which I then didn't use. Somehow, it wasn't as easy for me to use the ones downstairs. That I couldn't do it. It was something, whereas I could use the other ones for 20 minutes, like 2 minutes on this one, and hurts too much. So it didn't work for me.
It's interesting, well, I'm not gonna go into too much of the COVID thing, but I just want to say, and I don't mind you doing it, but I just want to say it's interesting. It seems like a lot of solutions to this is to actually be more active and healthy and go out. And
Yes.
it kind of seems like that where we're not supposed to do it at the same time. So that's strange to me, but anyway.
Well, now New York is really opening up.
All right,
And
nice.
it's just totally opening up. In fact, I think this week they've fully opened everything. You can
cool.
fill a
Yeah.
movie theater to full capacity. So I live next to a park. I have no excuse. And I'm glad that you picked this as a topic, because I do want to get up each morning and go to the park, that kind of thing.
It's easier when it's nice out also.
Yeah.
But there's some alarm here, so I don't know. But also try
I
it in
think
the
actually,
nights.
sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I want to say I actually thought of maybe one tip I can share, and that is for the longest time I thought I was like a night person who like I had to work at 3 a.m. Or some crazy hour past midnight to get things done. But then I realized actually I'm just a very, very early bird, and just waking up early actually helped me a lot with the creativity.
Yes.
Just having that moment in time where you cannot be disturbed, and also just getting into the habit of waking up early. I think it really helped. It helps with my mood for the rest of the day. Like it carries through.
Yes.
So
That's an excellent point, Matthias. That's something I discovered myself, and it's different for everybody. When is the best composing hour, and to stick to that. It can change, but I've also noticed it's in the morning. So that's a very, very good point. Thanks for sharing. Oh, my dog is having fun here. I just wanted to say one thing I've noticed also that you can try is to put your body in different states. And there are many ways to do that. And I don't mean drugs, so you can try, but I don't mean that. For example, I meditate, which you can try if you want to, or I move my body. And I guarantee you, the ideas that you come up with when you do those things, when you put your body in different states, are very different than when you sit down in front of the piano. There's nothing wrong sitting in front of the piano, but just try it. Like if you've jumped up and down for a few times, or you sat still for a moment and you have a recorder and you record the ideas that come to your mind, then I guarantee you they're completely different. So
That's interesting.
it's fun also to get you motivated to actually. I'm not saying I do tons of exercise myself, but it could be a motivation to do that. Seriously.
Well, neurologically, you're in the same position, so your brain is getting the same signals constantly, all the time. So your brain is very bored. It just is just hearing the same things over and over again. And so when you, like you said, move your body a different way, so your brain kind of wakes up and says, "Man, something different's going on," and so it cascades into other things. So that's interesting. Yeah. So like, that's why they say if you're driving, if you have a commute to work, go a different way, because we tend to fall into going the same way over and over again, where we could almost drive with our eyes shut, which I don't recommend, by the way. But you get into habits, and habits turn into ruts, and ruts are no good. Ruts are very bad for creativity. So turn left where you would normally turn right. Shake things up a little bit. And I think with your suggestion of movement, it's sending get different input into your brain, your sensors, your senses, your smells, your and like what Reid was saying, here in Kentucky, everything's opened up. All the restrictions have pretty much they're all gone, and people are actually like it's incredible. We went to the zoo, and it's like there were so many people there. You have all of this pent up anticipation. And now it's just like it's like unleashed now, and so everybody's now is trying to do as much as they can to sort of make up for what they didn't get to participate in during these lockdowns and restrictions. So so get out and walk, make some music. I think Beethoven and the composers, they were listening to the music of the spheres, and that is where the melodies come from. We listen to the birds singing. One sings the Dick Van Dyke Show theme. The other one is the Andy Griffiths show. One is Happy Birthday. So you hear all of these wonderful things going on around you, and so it's just stepping out and taking advantage of that, opening yourself up to that.
Yeah,
I just got a question in the chat. Yeah,
you got it too. Okay, yeah, it says, Sam, I'm not sure if you mentioned it in another video, but did meditation help you with health, music? Well, I tend to talk a lot, so I'm going to try to be brief. Yes. Well, I believe in, I don't know what the right word, but just to make it simple, let's say holistic, even though I don't mean anything with that. What I mean is that there's several things of life you got to look at. Just take a few. Do you have good relationships with your partner? If you have one? Do you have good friends that you meet often? Do you eat fairly okay? It doesn't have to be an extreme diet, but do you pay attention to your body? Do you move it? And do you have time for peace? And one of the ways of doing that could be meditation. And yes, it absolutely helps me. You might do it by juggling. I don't know. So there are many ways, but there are actually a few things one could or should look at in life. There is not just one solution. Like it's not just working with meditation or eating better, but I think a combination of many things. It does sound very complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just look at a few things. Do you have good people around you? Are you happy with your job? Are you taking care of yourself? So all those things need to be looked at.
It's like a combination lock. You've got to find the right combination that fits you, because we're all unique. So I think that's interesting. You got to find those things that are going to really resonate with you. But you've got to take care of all of those elements. Yeah.
It's actually a funny one I heard. I'm not sure. I think I heard it on a different podcast with some people when they had to focus when they were writing or doing programming or something like that. They put on brown noise, which is different from white noise. It's like lower. And actually gave that a try, and it worked fairly well for me actually. Because it really filters out all the environmental noise as well.
Yes.
So that's a very concrete little tip if you have to write a piece or something. And not music, obviously, but.
Well, and here again, Matthias, it's about neurology and your brain, because you don't hear with your ears, you hear with your brain. Because I've been dealing with some tinnitus, which is a scary word for musicians.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that is not happening in your ear. It's happening in your brain, because I think as you age, the auditory hairs in the cochlea, they start to die off, and so the auditory centers in your brain are searching for those frequencies that they're not getting from the cochlea, and so that's what is causing that consistent ringing all the time, because it's like your brain is filling in those missing frequencies. And so like when you're listening to the brown noise or the pink noise, it's sending different signals to that that auditory center in your brain. So it's kind of reprogramming those nerves. It's incredible. We are created amazing. We have so much going on, and it's like, well, I'm just hearing. Well, no, there's a lot more going on than what you think. And so, and as a PSA, take care of your ears. Listen, put headphones on, use hearing protection when you're at a loud concert or at a movie. So my wife got me some really nice, earplugs that don't block the sound, but it just lowers it enough where it's not going to be dangerous. So take care of your ears and your hands, and those things are priceless. You can't put a price tag on that. And there are no $6 million men being built that's going to help you to see and hear better, because we have these gifts and we have to take care of them. So, yeah.
That's so true, Simeon. That's a great point, actually. Yeah.
If I might say one more thing besides the health thing, which I agree you're all correct about that. I find it very helpful to get together with somebody who is not a musician, who is in the creative arts. I have a friend who's an animator, and when I would see her, I'd come out of it very enthusiastic to go back. When I like I said, I used to work as a writer, and I always felt stressed about deadlines. I always felt I can't take off hours this morning because then I'll get behind. I won't make it. And what would happen is if I had breakfast with my friend, I would come back and I would be so much more productive that day because we had this really, really stimulating conversation. And, I'm seeing a friend tomorrow. That's part of the world opening up, that I can actually meet a friend. We're going to meet outside for a coffee, and he's a writer, and he's a novelist, and I know his novels pretty well. So it's a different thing. I don't even read books. I don't even read fiction that much, but I read his, and it's good to get some kind of creativity coming from a human being that's doing something different from what you are, because it's all art. It's all the same kind of thing. And the other thing I was going to mention is, and I guess we all consume culture, but I grabbed this little book I have when I was going to see the doctor. I needed something to read, and it was about people, different kinds of famous people or celebrated people, writing about the list of movies that nobody knew about, that their favorite movies that other people might not know. And I don't know, every single thing I read, I want to go back and see this movie that I saw 30 years ago. And I don't know, I found it so inspirational. Whatever thing that you can do to get back to that person who wanted to make art when they were a kid, that kind of childlike desire to, I want to make music, I want to make movies, I want to do something. And if you can somehow, whatever it is, whatever trick you can get, and reading that book is just very exciting to me, and it rekindles that feeling in me.
That's very nice, Reid. I like
innocent and young.
I like what you're saying. That's a really good feeling, and I don't want to destroy it, but I just want to say one silly little trick that almost touches that just a tiny bit, and that's what I call write for the trash can. Something I learned from a writing course. I'm not good at writing, but basically you write, or in this case music, you write the worst piece of music you can. You just like really shitty music. And I say try that. Enjoy it. It's fun. It will surprise you. Just write
Well, one thing
bad music.
I think if you as a writer, I always like to write, so if I would sit down and I would write something and I wouldn't worry about whether it was good. And I would generate a ton of stuff. That's what I always did. And then I would look at it as an editor and start removing the bad stuff and getting down to what was good and then fixing it. But while I was writing, I tried to not stop myself from just writing, just generating things. I tried not to do any editing while I was beginning the first run through. I don't think that's probably a good habit for music, but that's the way I did that. Maybe, but perhaps in terms of trying to break through a block, maybe you don't have to go so far as to try and write something bad, but maybe just to be able to write without worrying whether it's really good.
Yes.
And just keep going and to keep playing and to keep composing and then later come back.
Well, you're absolutely right, Reid. It's just a funny trick. It's something I use also when I teach voice. I say, is somebody always worrying about singing in tune? And I tell them, sing out of tune as much as you possibly can. And so by some magic, they sing perfectly then because they don't care anymore. So it's just a trick to get you out of that. But while you said that, that's a tip. That writing just
Great.
for wherever. I used to do that. You would just write without stopping. You don't correct anything. I used to do it for half an hour or something way back. Just whatever. I was like, I don't know what to write. This is boring. Whatever you write, just do that. And I always wonder how you could do that with music. You can improvise on a piano, right? Sure. But if composing music, I always wonder how you could sort of just write music without stopping. I'm sure you can, but I haven't figured out a way. So if you guys have any good ideas, let me know.
I think it's a
tricky
little
question.
bit more. I think it's more practical to write something and not stop because you think it sucks. Put something down and go. All right, not like stop yours. Like I'll tell you, I wrote a little thing for my world video, and I put it down, and it wasn't good, but I wrote it and I said it, and then yesterday I think I redid it, and I'll walk away from it and I'll come back to it again and I'll redo it. But it didn't. First one didn't have a melody. The second one did. So I was willing to write this little piece, and I think that adds to maybe the most important thing I would say about getting through writer's block, and that's called a deadline.
Yes.
Even if it's a fake one, right? Isn't that true? My little videos create all these little deadlines where if I have a little piece, and I don't write on the level you guys do, but I have to write something, and so it has to be written. Something has to be written, and it might be a 6-second piece, but I have to finish it and I have to go back, and this piece I will keep going back to it until it's done.
Well, there's the song a week or a song a day or whatever you feel is possible. That's a good challenge you can set for yourself. And you're absolutely right, Reid. So you could maybe, if you find somebody and you say, I'm going to write the piece and I'm going to send it to you on Monday at 10 o'clock, whatever it is, right? And even if it sucks and it's half finished, you send it anyway. It's good if you have people you trust, but don't just send it out on internet. That can be bad. But unless you feel very brave, but otherwise that could be fun to do.
I do feel that this particular podcast for me is tremendously healing because I asked a question very early on when we first met, and I said, how many people do you have in your town or that you see a lot that has this particular interest in making music with a computer? And I know musicians, but this particular hobby, and I've known 3 or 4 people, but I don't see them very often. And so the idea to be regularly, at least every 2 weeks, we get together and we talk about these issues. To me, this is awesome. I mean, it's so special. I mean, we take part in forums and things like that, but this is very, very different in terms of how how great it is for me.
Oh, nice. We're right back
So
at
glad
you.
to hear that.
What?
That's great. I said I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That it's it's, I mean, it's valuable to me as well. But yeah,
Not
I
the
can only
salmon
agree.
stand, of course.
Guys, this is it's really nice. I was wondering, unless you have something else you want to mention, we should go on. We have been at it for 1.5 hours, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So I thought the last thing, or the last two things, do you guys have anything you think is worth mentioning? Maybe there's a new instrument or something funny that happened within the music world, or something that you want to share. Table's free.
No, I did get the cinematic studio piano. I think I talked about it last time, like I didn't have it, but I have it now. So
Yeah,
I
tell me
got
about
that
that.
one, and
Second.
it's nice. I feel it's the main reason I got it is because of the Project Colossal thing that I mentioned at the start, because that template required it, and also it's incredibly cheap. So
Yes, it is.
I
But does
I
it have the
still
same
like the
quality?
simple Sam one better, but it's good at what it does. It's a very okay piano.
But it fits the same quality as the other libraries, do you think? Or
Yeah, it works well with the rest of the series.
yeah, maybe I'll.
Simeon did a pretty lengthy stream on the Heaviosity library Ascend, which I think is pretty good, and people would do. I think it's something I would recommend people watch.
And I think that library was when I started doing piano libraries, and I think I did like that. That's like I did like 4 videos on just that one piano. But but each time there's just something new that comes out, and Heaviosity's got that DNA. They just have that thing in all of their libraries, so it's a lot of fun. And I've still got to check out the cinematic piano as well.
Yeah, well, it's a Yamaha C7, I think. And actually, if I remember correctly, the last episode you were talking about a particular brand of Bosendorfer or something that you really liked.
The 280, the
Yeah,
280
yeah.
VC.
Yeah, so I think that might also be the reason that I might come across as not all that enthusiastic about the cinematic piano. It's because the Yamaha.
How many round robins? How many round robins does the cinematic piano have?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's the Yamaha.
I do know
has
it doesn't have release samples. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a very
I
bright
like it.
sound, and the Bosendorfers tend to be like a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
And I think I gravitate more towards that. So that might be the reason that I.
Well, the
It's a
C7,
I was just going to
Go
say
ahead.
it's a very simple library, which
Yeah.
is why I like it compared to.
But sometimes just a straight up piano might be great. I just want to say, Simon, I did actually watch your video of the Heaviosity piano, and first of all, it's really nice to see it because you're obviously a great musician, so you can just like come up with nice things immediately, which is you don't always find that in videos. So I really appreciate that, and you take your time. But I was actually surprised that I like Heaviosity, but they're not what I go for because they're great libraries. It's just that they work more towards the hybrid stuff, which is wonderful. So I sometimes miss what I'm after, but I did find that this piano was very good. At least what you showed, it could sound like a real piano as well, not just as a bunch of weird things. So that was a good
Right.
video.
Yeah, they started with that Steinway D, and I think that was a good start. And then they just branched out and did all this other crazy stuff. But I thought they did a really good job. But like what you said, they are like their strings, Forzo, Vento, and Novo. They are all into that hybrid area. Yeah, they're not a VSL string library, so they fit a particular niche, so to speak. But yeah.
Oh, did anyone try out the Spitfires later? We talked about it. What was it called? Orchestral pads? No, sorry, I'm
Cinematic pads.
Cinematic pads. Did anyone try that out?
And did I think Simeon tried it?
Oh, I did. I did. The day it was released, I went. I had to get. I got it and went live with it. It was really interesting because they took the Albion 1 samples. So Christian basically took those samples, recycled them through his crazy rack of stuff, and really brought something different out of it. So it was like repurposed it. It's not just like a re-release, but it's a repurposing of those original Albion 1 samples, which I thought it sounded really cool.
Right.
Just a lot of really cool things going on there.
Okay, makes me actually want to go and try the pads in Albion too, to see if
Yeah,
if
and
it'll work.
now
Yeah.
if you had the Albion One Legacy, see, that cinematic pads that was free. So if you had originally purchased that library, then they give you the cinematic pads, just like they did with Intimate Strings and some of the other. So I think that's kind of cool. So if you did purchase that original Albion One, all of these repurposed libraries, they're giving those to you. I guess as a loyalty or as a way of saying thanks because you can't get that anymore. So I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention I saw, I don't know if it's super interesting, but the Veramonic that creates the Bohemian violin and cello, that are amazing instruments. I would like to own them one day. They are having new freebies now. I know that's very simple, but it's very high quality. So the cello and the violin freebies there are, I think it's pizzicato and shorts. But that is actually worth it because it's so good. It's so well recorded. It sounds really amazing.
We should invite Andre on the show sometime because I believe he's pretty accessible. And
Yeah.
the Philharmonic violin is I don't have the cello, but I do have the violin, and it's amazing. Like I think he spent literal years on it and recorded all the samples himself. He's the violinist, I believe.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so too, because it does feel like there's a real violinist who have done this. I mean, not just the whole engine, the concept, the thinking behind it. Because there's so many things you can do with violin. I'm very impressed by Joshua Bell, for example. I think that's amazing. But I would like to, I don't know, compare them somehow. I don't know them both, but
It's pretty simple how they differ. I think that Joshua Bell is a virtual violin that you can play the music that you've written. And the Bohemian violin is a virtual performer.
Wow.
And so just, it has a personality.
Yeah.
And
Or many.
as a former violinist, there's certain things it's like a good horse. It goes where you want to go, but it has a certain opinion about how it should go. And so, for example, I'll be playing it because the way it's designed is you just play it like a piano. You can add articulations, and of course you have to with pizzicato, but it just does everything for you.
You're
And
talking
so I'll
about
be
Bohemian now, or
yes,
yeah.
and so you'll be playing it, and it'll rebow when I wouldn't rebow. It'll just do it. And so I feel that it's the most realistic instrument
Wow.
of solo instrument, one of the most realistic I have.
Yeah, I get that sense too.
It's just
And it uses
amazing.
the UVI.
Yeah.
Yeah, the UVI workstation. So that's interesting.
But the thing about it is that it's playing me there's a pushback. So when I'm playing,
cool.
when I'm playing it, I kind of go, well, I can only. It's a collaboration. The music I'm writing
Very true.
is done with it, and this is the performer. This is what the performer is willing to do. So, for example, you've written a piece and you need a violinist to play it. He may not completely want
But that's like real life too, eh?
to play. He may not completely be in agreement with what you wrote and might push back a little bit. So if you're willing to do you agree with what I'm saying, Matthias? You have to kind of meet it halfway.
Yeah.
And over time they now have three performers. You can pick one. So you have a little bit of variation in kinds of playing. And they're going to have another one out summer. I assume that one of the things that there will be is more articulations and maybe another performer or two. So when you're doing music, you could just pick one, or you could even switch by key switches between the two different performers.
Wow.
While you're playing. But it's easy.
Yeah.
You don't need to think. You play it, and to me, it sounds like a violin. Not necessarily the piece I had in my head, but it sounds like a violin, and I'm fine with that. I love it.
But I look here, they also have different feelings. So they have improv, sardas, I don't know how to pronounce it, emotive, sprightly, concertino, AR, diminuendo, rebow, lasting bow, legato. It's very advanced. It's got a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm saving up for that one.
You're gonna have to try it, Simeon. I can see the look on your face, like you're already planning to do it.
No, but Simeon,
And they
Joshua
have a
Bell is
cello.
amazing. I
The,
think
the,
Joshua
the
Bell.
thing, the business model of Harmonic is great in that you buy one and they continue to update it. And whenever you get on it, all the updates are free. So the later you buy it, the more you have to pay for it. So the new buyers pay more. I bought it like pretty much when it came out, and I've just been getting, and it's very exciting to hear about these updates. I'm very excited about these 2 updates, and they're going to come out with both of them at the same time for cello and violin, and they're also going to come out with viola at that.
Oh, really, the viola as well.
Wow.
It's funny, I actually found that the cello is not as good, even though it's the same technology, but it's just a personal preference of the sound, I guess. But yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm getting more intrigued. I need to get this one. What was it? I just wanted to say performance samples, something that I really enjoy. I really like that concept because the whole idea is that you just load up the instrument, you don't look at the interface, and you just play on the keyboard, and the engine handles the rest for you, more or less. And it really works. And they just announced that they're working something called Pacific and Voyage, and they're not ready yet. But I just encourage you to go and check those things out. I think if you really look at it, it's very expensive. These are more expensive libraries, but I'm getting more and more interested all the time because they really go for the whole thing. You're not supposed to sit and program and mess about. You're supposed to just play what you want, and the result is there.
It's to me, it's one of the more exciting trends in virtual instruments. Virtual instruments. I mean, we have the whole artificial intelligence things where they create chords for you or create melodies for you, which I find less interesting. But the ones where they actually put something in there to make it sound musical.
Yeah.
And make it sound real. That I what you're saying with performance samples, I really love Verharmonic. I love what.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. Also wanted to say, if you're interested, there's a freebie called Orchestral Swells in the piano book. It's made by Dan Keane. I think he sampled different instruments online and made interesting instruments. I tried to play with it a little bit, to be honest, just a little bit, so I don't know it that well. I'm impressed with the idea, and I'm impressed that it's free and it's really nice work. Personally, I don't know what I would use it so much for because it's a free sound, so what can you say? But I don't find that it's something I would use so much in my music because I'm looking a little bit more for realism. Because it has that syndrome that when you have one note, it kind of works, but as soon as you play 2 or 3, you get sort of, I don't know if it's a phasing, but you get a weird effect, like an organ. It starts to sound unrealistic immediately. So then I would use it more as a pad. But hey, its piano book is amazing. It's all free and it's worth to check it out. And I'm impressed. I don't know how to do this stuff. So kudos to Dan. And you can tell that he's a violinist because the violin samples, they are a little bit better than the other ones. So yeah.
There are all these standard string libraries that I have. It causes me no pain to let them all be released. I could care less about Abbey Road. Everybody can knock themselves out and enjoy themselves because I don't need it. I'm happy with what I have. But the libraries that drive me crazy are the Ben Osterhaus libraries and Sunset Strings, libraries that Westwood Instruments. There's a slightly off-kilter approach to it, and I find those kinds of instruments irresistible. They're the ones that make me buy because they're not just another string line.
Well, if everything works out, Ben might be a guest in the next podcast. We'll see. I'm going to talk to him again about that, but yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much what I have there. I was just going to ask you again, guys, are you doing anything this week that you would like to promote? Any video you're releasing or anything you're working on? Matthias, do you have any video coming out or anything you would like to talk about?
Oh, yeah. That's a very good question because it's been quiet. No, so as I mentioned, the Project Colossal is kind of given me a few more new ideas for my own little project. So I have the perfectionism thing going on probably where where I've already made a few videos, but now I kind of want to redo them before I release them because of the new inspiration. And so yeah, just for the record, when I started that project, I had a project file that was called version 5.0. I'm now at version 9, I think. So I keep going, but I should probably release at some point, and just because that's something we discussed today. Knowing when to walk away from it and just put it out there. So I'm going to try to do that. You can keep me to that promise.
Okay, we'll check in. Everybody watching and listening, they will go and check out and make sure that Matthias is finishing his. And Simeon, anything you're releasing in a video this week, or videos perhaps?
It's the thing that you can predict about me is the unpredictability.
Right.
It's so right now my mind is kind of blank, but still working on maybe some piano things coming up, getting this project done. And hopefully getting the Bohemian, that you guys really getting me excited about that possibility. So so all I would say is subscribe, like, share, and you'll see what happens. So nuclear pianos, I think the nuclear piano from Pripyat, I've had that sitting for a while. I want to get that back out, and I don't think I've done anything with that. So there's some interesting things going on.
I just get some interesting images in my mind. Nuclear piano.
The Chernobyl, it's a piano. It's this is a piano that they sampled in the Chernobyl zone after the meltdown. So it's again, I love pianos that have stories, like the Piano in Blue and that kind of thing.
But Omnisphere has a piano that is on fire, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking explosion.
The fire piano. Yeah.
You just hear a bomb sound. Anyway, yeah.
Oh my, it's crazy. Yeah. So
there's a guitar store on Carmine Street in New York, and the guy makes guitars for Lou Reed. He made guitars for Bob Dylan, and what he would do is he would go and get wood from the Chelsea Hotel and these kind of historic places with a lot of memories for people. And he would take these boards. When you went in there, all this old wood from these famous places in New York, and he would make guitars out. So that when you bought it, you would have not just and they were, all the guitars that these people were using were exactly according to the kind of guitar they wanted. And it's a great place to go and sit,
Yeah.
Wow.
And try out his stuff.
Sounds fun. Reid, do you have anything on your channel or any old video, but anything you would like to share that you think that we should check out?
Old video.
Just doesn't have to be new.
I think I'm immersed. I have to edit this video that I told you about world music. I have another world music one I want to do, which will be about why I prefer the term world music to ethnic music. So that'll be the second one, making that case. I've kind of made a decision to not do any more tutorial videos because I think I'm really bad at it. And so I want to stick to what I think I do well, which is offer my opinions on something. And the other thing that's been going on my mind is I think that my videos, I started seriously doing videos a year ago, June last year. And first ones, I wasn't in them. And then there started to be this tiny little Reid in them, like a green screen and just the kind of streamer Reid about an inch high. And finally, I got the nerve to look, show myself in the videos. And it just was a long process into figuring out what it was that I was going to do. And there was a desperation. I just didn't feel people would keep watching. So I put a lot of jokes into it, and a lot of special effects. I'd blow myself up all the time. Figuring
get a read
if
on
I
you,
did
as you
that,
call it,
if I did that, then maybe people would keep watching. And this, I think, is the first video in that I don't care.
But I just do want to say though, and I understand that that's kind of nice when you can relax like that, and I need to do it myself. But I just want to say though that you can tell that you know what you're doing. It's very high quality videos. I've checked you out. Everything sounds good. Everything's well edited. It's just like wow. When I checked them out, I really enjoyed just watching even your jokes and everything because it's just very well done, Reid. So I really recommend to check your videos out. And also, it's very nice to hear your opinions. You have some experience that other people don't. So yeah, I highly recommend your videos for sure for anyone.
I think it's just that I don't. Well, who knows what you do? Never say never. But I feel like I just want to do it, and not worry. If I look at the analytics and 20 seconds in, everybody turned it off. I want it to be about what I have to express. Yeah. Hopefully that will be good enough.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, personally, what am I doing? I have made the video already. I'm releasing it tomorrow, Thursday, I think it is. I decided to just try something different. I'm not as good player as Simeon, but I just had fun. Just took my piano and I played a little bit just for fun. Ended up playing a little bit before I actually got to my video, but and then I'm just working, showing you what pedaling is. It's a very, very simple concept that everybody knows, but I'm just showing how you can think about it and how you can apply it to your orchestra. Just like, because it's one of those simple things that if you don't know what to do in a section, just do some pedaling. You can really get some mileage out of that. You can even create simple variations instead of, just doing the same chord progression. Put this, just one bass note and play the same chord progressions over that, and you have something different. So I just tried something different there. So you can try that out. Just wanted to say, everybody, please share and like. Subscription is nice because then you know when the next live podcast is coming, because we do this live. But otherwise, share and comment and let everybody know. Post it anywhere. And if you're listening to a podcast, we would really appreciate it if there's a possibility to do so. I know on Apple Podcast you can rate us. That would help us a lot, so more people can share these content. And if we have more people coming, then maybe we can have more in the chat if I don't screw it up as I did in the beginning and lost all those viewers, so we can interact more and get more interesting questions from you. Anything else you guys wanted to add before we finish today's podcast?
No.
Then I would just say thank you very much for joining and watching and listening and sharing and all that. And we will see you in 2 weeks and hopefully with a guest then. So that would be even more interesting. So take lots of care until we see you next time.